Hey everyone, Rob here from the SnapCast with yet another deck tech for beginners, and today we've got Bogles. Alright, so we've gone through a few of our decks so far, and this one's kind of going to fit the same theme here, and that is an aggressive linear strategy deck in the form of hexproof creatures. So it is called Bogles, but the namesake creature is actually pronounced Bogle. If you talk to a majority of the community, then there's the other portion of the community that thinks it's Bogles. I don't think it matters, but they did make a really good quote about it on the new card, saying that you weren't going to get it right anyway. So let's go ahead and get into this fantastic aggressive deck. So the big thing when it comes to Bogles or Bogles, whatever you want to call it, is hexproof. Both of our big creatures in this deck, and by big, I mean the ones we really want to get out there, they have hexproof. So they can't be the target of spells or abilities, and they're going to stay on the field until a board wipe hits. We have to sacrifice them, or just something too powerful is able to block it because either one, we can't do math, or your opponent was able to pull some tricks and make their creature stronger. So let's go through our creatures first. First off, we're going to have the namesake creature of the deck itself, Slippery Bogle. Okay, and it is a hybrid Simic, so green or blue, and it is a 1/1 creature with hexproof. Okay, we run a full play set of those, and then M12, and probably an earlier set too of mine are M12. We got Glade Cover Scout, or Cover Scout. Okay, again, this is a 1-drop, 1/1, and this is just for 1 green. Next set of creatures we run is Core Spirit Dancer. We have 4 of her. She's a 2-drop for an 0/2, 1 in white, but she gets better though. She gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to her, and whenever you cast an aura spell, you may draw a card. I'll go ahead and let you in on a little secret. A majority of our spells are auras with the exception of, I believe, Pad the Exile and Leyline and Sanctity. Everything else, though, we're going to be able to utilize that draw. And then just like what we saw in Infect, whenever you have a lot of, a very small creature pool to go pull from, and you really need to make sure that it stays alive, we do have a 1 of Dryad Arbor in this deck. Alright. So Dryad Arbor, it is a 1/1 green creature that you can fetch for. And that's the main way that you're going to want to utilize Dryad Arbor, is if your opponent has an edict effect. So you have to sacrifice a green creature, or you just have to sacrifice a creature. Dryad Arbor is really good to bring in to protect yourself from that. So now let's get into our spells. First spell I want to cover here is Rancor. Alright, Rancor is an enchantment aura. 1 green, target creature gets +2/+0 and has trample. So now not only are we making our creature stronger, but we're letting it reach over the defense of what our opponent's creatures may be. A nice ability too with Rancor is if it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you get to return it to your hand. Okay, next up we're going to have Spider Umbra. So Spider Umbra is a 1-drop aura enchantment, and enchanted creature has +1/+1 and reach. So now you get to block those troublesome flying creatures too, and also has a nice ability called Totem Armor. Hyena Umbra also shares this ability. If enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura instead. So if they have a way, say they Anger the Gods or Star of Extinction or whatever board wipe they might put out there that doesn't target us, that deals damage, we can then, or even other spells such as, I'm blanking on it right now, Supreme Verdict. Okay, this will save us from that. And again, it's another aura spell, so we'll be able to go on with drawing cards from Core Spirit Dancer. And it also makes Core Spirit Dancer that much more stronger. So we'll go ahead and get into Hyena Umbra then. And Hyena Umbra is a white +1/+1 and First Strike. And then of course it too has the Totem Armor. There's different balances you can do on these spells. Currently, I have 3 Spider Umbra and 2 Hyena Umbra. Some like to go to the 4 Spider Umbra. But again, that's to each their own and what the meta is. Next, we're going to go to Ethereal Armor. Okay, Ethereal Armor is another 1-drop enchantment here. 1 white. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has First Strike. So now it's getting not just the pump from that enchantment, but any other ones that you have on this one creature. That's what its power is going to be on top of everything else it gets. Ethereal Armor is a wonderful enchantment to have, and this deck can greatly abuse it. And a couple more of our 1-drop spells. So we've got Griff's Boon. Some decks have gotten away from Griff's Boon in favor of other spells to maybe fill out their 4s. but I still enjoy Griff Spoon because of the evasion it gives. So Griff Spoon for 1 white, enchant creature gets +1/+0 and has flying. So now we get the flying aspect involved in here too. So if we can't have trample, we can't attack through our opponent, at least we have Griff Spoon to look forward to be able to get through that. Next up, we're going to be going into Cartouche of Solidarity. So this is one that was being tested out. I still like it. It's another aura that we get to play for 1 white, and whenever it enters the battlefield, you get a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. So again, something else to sack to, maybe a nice little chump blocker to keep yourself alive for another turn. Then enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has first strike. All right, next up, we're going to have our 2-drops here. So first one I want to talk about is Spirit Mantle. Spirit Mantle, we run a 2 of, some decks have gotten away from it, some fill it out to a full 4. It is 1 and a white. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and it has protection from creatures. So it can't be blocked by creatures, targeted or dealt damage by creatures. Again, that's another one of those great ones for that evasion to get through and get your damage in. Probably the most powerful of enchantments we have in this deck. And normally your game ends whenever you cast this, depending on where it is. And that is Daybreak Cornet. Daybreak Cornet is a 2-drop, white and white. Remember, this is the Future Sight one with the alternate card art. Beautiful, by the way. Enchant creature with another aura attached to it. So it has to already have an aura on it before you can cast Daybreak Cornet. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3, has first strike, vigilance, and lifelink. It's just a wonderful trifecta that we want when it comes to this deck. We're not tapping when we attack. Our damage is happening first. Oh, and I'm gaining whatever life I just dealt to you in damage points. So how do we protect ourselves? Because we have a lot of good stuff. We don't want our hand torn apart. We need to make sure the board stays clear. If we don't get our pro creatures, we don't have first strike or something. So we'll go through that. First off, we now run 4 Leyline of Sanctities. And I say now because this wasn't always a mainstay in this deck. We always did different things when it came to Bogles. But Leyline of Sanctity is a wonderful card. There's a reason it carries the price tag it has. And it seems expensive if you look at it. Okay, 2 and 2 white. But don't worry, it has a fantastic Leyline ability that all the Leylines have. If Leyline of Sanctity is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on your on the battlefield. So it's turn 0, you decide to keep your hand. Before your opponent draws or before you start, you put Leyline of Sanctity into play. You have hexproof for the rest of the game until it's destroyed. Okay, and it counts as an enchantment to go towards your ethereal armor to just allow it to get even bigger and bigger. Now, how about removing those pesky creatures? We run 2 Pad the Exiles. All right, so this is just going to be able to exile a creature. Sure, your opponent's going to get a land on the battlefield tapped, but that's fine because we are a very quick and fast deck. Normally, we can seal the deal by turn 3, turn 4, and if not, we'll be very close to it because, again, our creatures, they just get to the point where they're not tapping when they attack. They're way too strong, so our opponent can't attack into us. And as soon as we can slap some trample onto it, then it's even better. Our mana base here, this is again another pricey part of it. You have 3 Horizon Canopies. Some decks ran 4. I like the 3 of them. It does cost you, it's like a pain land in a way that you have to tap it for, or pay 1 life for green or white. But you can also use it to draw cards as well. For 1, you can tap, sacrifice it, and draw a card. Misty Rainforests are good to have in here. The main one that you're going to want is Windswept Heats. Okay, you are a blue-white or a green-white deck. Temple Gardens and Razor Verge Thickets go for miles in this. Okay, you want Razor Verge Thicket just because it is the fast land variant rather than the buddy land. What I mean by that is with Razor Verge Thicket, if you control 2 or fewer lands, then it comes into play untapped. Whereas with the buddy lands, you have to already have a plains or you have to have a forest in play. Sometimes you might not want to fetch outright. Just it depends on the matchup, how much life you can potentially lose. And then we always run a 1 of basic plains and basic forest, and that's going to give us some protection from Blood Moon. That's the main deck, though. Again, the things to look forward to whenever you're looking at your hands. Do I have a creature? If I don't have a creature, mulligan. All right, you don't want to try to draw into your Slippery Bogle or your Glade Clover Scout. You want that to be a turn 1 play. You don't have to worry about Fatal Push or Lightning Bolt, your normal turn 1 removal spells. You don't have to worry about Pad the Exile because your creature has hexproof. And now let's get into our sideboard. All right, sideboard here, probably some typical white cards you expect to see. 2 rest in pieces. This is going to be for your graveyard decks. You don't care about your cards being exiled from your graveyard. Okay, this is going to be really good against like Dredge, KCI, anything that wants to play in the graveyard. That's where rest in peace comes into play. 1 of Nature's Claim. You can bring in others, but again, it's just for artifact or enchantment hate. Good one too is like Blood Moon. So if you're in a Blood Moon heavy environment, you might want to pick up a couple more of those. 2 Gaddock Teagues. This is really going to stall your opponent in that they won't be able to cast big spells. That's spells with 4 or greater CMC, or non-creature spells with X in their mana cost. So that's only for non-creature spells for both of those abilities. Stony Silence, I run 3 of them. And it states that activated abilities, artifacts can't be activated. Really good against like your Hardened Scales deck and as well KCI. Dromoka's Command. You can have 1 of these in the main. Some decks are starting to do it. And this came out of the Khans of Tarkir set. So for a green and white, you get to choose 2. Prevent all damage target instant or sorcery would deal this turn. Target player sacks an enchantment. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. The fight mechanic is probably always going to be used. And then depending on your situation, you'll go through and pick between either the first one or the third one. Or you may want to, have your opponent sacrifice that Blood Moon they just played. Speaking of which, we also have 2 Seal of Primordiums, 2 more enchantments that can sit on the field. This can pump you through Ethereal Armor, and also you can sacrifice it to destroy target artifact or enchantment. 2 more Pad the Exiles, again, just to get those creatures out of the way, and then 1 Warship. So Warship, damage would reduce your life total to less than 1. It reduces it to 1 if you control a creature. And generally, we are going to be able to keep our Bogles on the field. So this is going to be really good for like humans, spirits, burn, really just good enchantment to have out there. So you can never die, and then hopefully you'll just be able to slowly kill your opponent. But that's it for Bogles. Bogles is a really fun deck. Chris played it for a very long time, and it's definitely one that did well. GP Liverpool recently had a team member get in the top 8 with it. I believe he got 2nd or so. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our Ultimate Masters Booster Pack. Again, thanks everybody for watching. And if you enjoy what we are doing, be sure to click that like and subscribe down below. Click the little bell so you get notified and you can see us slowly open this box. It's only at the end of every video that I'll be going through my box of Ultimate Masters. Alright, so let's see what we got. Alright, sweet. We got a nice Spark Elemental token. But again, we're going to go through and we're going to do this just like we did in our previous one. 3 uncommons, rare, and the foil. Push those aside, see what good commons we have, if any. Hooting Mandrills can be fun, but that's really it. A Chrome Crusader, you saw a little bit of play, but not a whole lot. Alright, so now we're going to go through our 3 uncommons. We've got Boar Umbra, another Umbra, but it's too much. I'm sure it gets +3/+3, but it's a 3-drop. That's not where we want our enchantments to be when it comes to Bogles. A rare is Rhea Dawnbringer. Okay, decent angel over cost, I think. 9-drop. Flying at the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If you can sneak it in, definitely do that. Quicksilver Amulet. Sneak and Show, you've got... No, Sneak and Show, you're going to sacrifice it. But different things that you can do for that. And then a Rakdos Shred Freak. I think Quicksilver Amulet, you also have to sacrifice it. So you may not be able to sneak it in. And then our foil is just a nice little common here. And we already knew what our token was. So that's going to do it for us. Again, thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you enjoy what we're doing here with these beginner deck tech videos, please click the like and subscribe again below. You can check us out online at www.thesnapcast.com for all the latest and greatest content we have to offer. At Team SnapCast on Twitter. You can also follow us on Instagram now. We are on the Patreon, so patreon.com/thesnapcast. Check out what different levels we have. If anything suits you, if you want to have anything added, shoot us a message and let us know, and we can see what we can do about adding that to it. Okay, because without our patrons, we can't do this. And then, of course, I'd like to give a big thanks and shout out to Camden Battlegrounds in Southeast Georgia for allowing us to film in their store. It's been a wonderful time so far, and I hope to keep it going even longer. But I believe that is going to do it for us. Thanks again for watching, guys. Y'all have a fantastic evening.